Hi, everyone, and welcome back to part 2 of Module 2, Ethical Decision Making. How do we know what our principles and standards are? Well, when we are making decisions, we want to make sure that we're making ethical decisions. There's 4 ways or 4 tests that we could do to see if our decisions are ethical. So the first one is the role exchange test. The role exchange test is just really putting ourselves into the situation, into a situation or into someone else's shoes, seeing things from a different perspective. How will our decision affect them? So we have to put ourselves in their shoes to see how that decision that we would make would affect someone else. The second way is the universal consequence test. The universal consequence test is really about looking at a focus of the general overall. If you're deciding between, I'm walking by and I see that there's this can in the middle of the sidewalk, do I pick it up because I really value clean earth, or do I just leave it there and not bother? Well, the universal consequence test has you say, what if everybody did this? What if everybody just walked by and left it there? Or what if everybody walked by and picked it up? And then you can see if you're making an ethical decision. The third one is the new case test. I'd like to think about this in your book when they're talking about this in page 50. They give you some examples and scenarios. I like to think of this one as the what if. What if, for example, you're looking at a decision of, they talk about it in the book regarding testing animals. You're really against testing animals. So what if they're going to inject animals with the COVID-19 virus to then test a vaccine? The what if would say, well, what would I still feel that it's wrong to do that, and will I still vote against that if I had a family member in the hospital who really needed the COVID-19 vaccine or they would die? So that what if scenario helps us decide if I would still vote the same, then I'm still very conform to my ethics. If I would change it, then I have to start changing my ethical point of view. The last one is the higher principle test. And I thought about this image because it's really do what others aren't willing to do. So if you are in your house, you're really clean, you're organized, and then everybody around you starts leaving a mess, you're always cleaning up after them. Do you continue to say, you know what, I'm not going to leave a mess for them so that they can see how it feels. I'm going to go ahead and clean it up because that's still what I would do ethically, but I will go ahead and have a talk with them. So it's really continuing to live by your own principles, even if others aren't, and then maybe talking to them about changing. So it's going to go really well. These will make sense too with the rationalizations, because many times we like to make excuses or rationalize why we break certain ethical boundaries. So let's look at those common rationalizations. The common rationalizations are, if it is necessary, it's ethical. If it is legal, it's permissible. If it's ethical. I was just doing it for you. I'm just fighting fire with fire. It doesn't hurt anyone. Everyone's doing it. It's okay. If I don't gain personally, I got it coming. I deserve it, and I can still be objective. So let's talk about those. First, if it's necessary, it's ethical. I need a job. I desperately need a job, and on there it says that for the job requirement, I need to have 5 or 6 years experience, so I will just lie on my resume. Because of the necessity of a job, it's ethical to lie. So that makes a lie not a lie. So that's a common rationalization, because a lie is a lie. So if you lie on your resume, whether you need it or not, it's still a lie. The next one, if it's legal and permissible, it's ethical. Well, We talked about this one earlier. Ethical and legal don't always go together. Yes, it was legal and permissible for segregation during the Jim Crow period of time, but it wasn't ethical. So we sometimes like to think, well, it's the law, so I can do it. No, it doesn't mean it's ethical. The next one here is, I was just doing it for you. So I thought about two scenarios here. Your book talks about, not telling a friend, oh, your girlfriend or boyfriend was cheating on you because I did it for you. I didn't want to hurt you. The other one I think about is, I think about it for those of you who are parents, the whole idea of, oh, I didn't tell you I wrecked the car because, or if you're a friend too, I didn't tell you I wrecked the car because I know you didn't have money to fix it, and I didn't want to, just stress you out with that. So those are two justifications or rationalizations for breaking your ethics rules. The next one is, I'm just fighting fire with fire. Once again, it's that eye for an eye. Two wrongs do not make a right. Just because someone did this, so that goes back to my example of the higher principle test. If everybody in the house is leaving a mess, you're like, okay, everyone's going to leave a mess, then I'm going to make a bigger mess so that they all have to clean it up after me. I'm not going to clean forever until they do it. It's trying to get back at someone. The book gives you an example of, hey, my roommate took my sweater, so I'm going to, without asking, I'm going to go ahead and take their camera without asking. It doesn't make it right. So remember, whenever you hear yourself using any of these justifications, you're breaking an ethics rule. It doesn't hurt anyone, so it must be okay. I read about plagiarism a lot because that's what my doctorate is on. And cheating is huge. It's a huge, it's huge in campuses all over. It hasn't just disappeared, but it's not right. Whether we like to think about it as everyone's doing it, it's not really hurting anyone if my friend wrote the essay for me, or hey, it's not going to hurt anyone next to me if I write those answers on my hand or cheat some way. But it still does not make it okay. So it's still incorrect. So remember, you can't use that rationalization. It can't be wrong if everyone's doing it. So this probably reminds you of kids as well. When you were a kid saying, well, my friend did it, and then your parents telling you, if everyone's doing it, everyone jumps off a bridge, you will too. Once again, if we are using that rationalization, it's not going to go very well. For example, think about driving. You're driving down the street, and if a cop stops you for speeding and you tell him, well, everyone on the freeway was speeding, sorry, it's not going to fly. So remember, those rationalizations do not make the ethics action, right and wrong, go away. The following one is, it's okay if I don't gain personally. And I think about this one as the Robin Hood complex here, the steal from the rich to give to the poor. It doesn't make it okay. Just because you're helping someone else, it doesn't make it okay for you to steal. Same thing. Think about fast food. Well, I saw these kids outside and they were, hungry and starving. So I took the food from the restaurant and gave it to them. Well, if you didn't buy it and you still stole it from there, it's still stealing. So that's an ethical action being broken. I got it coming, I deserve it. So think about how often you might hear this, even around work. I think about this one, I put a little social media in there, but it's really about, well, they don't pay me enough, they don't pay me what I'm worth, so I have it coming. I'm going to go ahead and take these extra office supplies, or I'm not going to really do work while I'm supposed to be doing work. I'll go ahead and, look at my social media, I'll do my homework. Are you really supposed to be doing that during work time? So those ethics actions are being broken by the rationalization of, hey, I deserve it. The next rationalization is, I can still be objective. This is a tough one, right? Because many times we like to think that we can still be objective, and this is our last rationalization. giving, for example, teachers or at work or any other job, you get a gift. And I like this little one there of giving her an apple. Here's an apple. Well, it's not a regular apple, right? It's a computer. Can that teacher now be objective? Say, wow, they just got a brand new computer. They accepted it. Can they still be objective and maybe fail this little boy if he doesn't pass? Can that police officer accept that gift and still be objective if his neighbor's speeding down the street or, breaking the law somehow? So that's why there's rules at work not to accept certain gifts over a price limit. You would have to look at your company, because can you still be objective? So these are the rationalizations that we make when we are breaking an ethical action. The next slide here is on Tolman's model. I exited out completely because for this class being so short and us getting into our writing, you will not have to do this in your textbook. So this will start on page 53. It actually is just towards the end of your book, so don't worry about that one at all. But do know your rationalizations really well, because they are all going to be on the test with certain issues that you have to, not issues, but you'll learn, you'll read scenarios and have to decide on the correct rationalization. So make sure you look at that. So chapter 2, really for the checkup, what are the value conflicts? Name some ethics to use in an argument. Difference between ideal and real values, and what are some common rationalizations. So the common rationalizations we just finished, the ideal and real, remember that the ideal is what we want to believe, the real is what we actually do. And name some ethics in an argument. That was on the slide. Be honest. Do not leave anything out of your writing. Research the claims. Listen with respect. Be willing to revise positions and give credit where credit is due. And then what are value conflicts? I'll let you look through that part again in the slides. So thank you very much. And the next lecture will be on the CRAP test and the APA style.